Good morning, Cayman. Good morning. Buenos dias. How is everyone? Let me just get my mic on. I'm going to use the lapel mic today. We have our full camera set up, but we're going to be switching cameras throughout the day because it's going to be a long day. And at some point, folks, I literally need to physically sit down. So, what's up? What's up? Let me check the AC. See what's going on. I'm feeling a little bit warm up in here today. Things are going to start popping off in terms of getting hot as we move through the day. Let me just say good morning to one and good morning to all. Just give me one quick second here. I am going to, let me see what style we're going to go with here today. Should we go with that one or that one? I think we'll stick with that one for today. All right, so give me one quick second. I'm actually going to just make sure that all the good folks know that we are live. There's a guy in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Of course, they're having to deal with that volcano this week. So I'm just sending him a quick message about that, and then we can pop off. About what to do. All right, just sending him a message here. Okay, good folks. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We got a full lineup for you guys here today. Let me just see who on my way. Go get it. Go vote, go vote, go vote. I have voted. Yes, I'm done. Let me just see. There we go. Oh my gosh. The hair looks mad crazy. Can you believe yesterday that this was like legit looking so nice, and then you sleep on it and boom. Makes you look like you're a wild woman. Morning, Keisha. Good morning, Rivera, Anthony, Charlene. Give me one quick second here. I'm just checking my my feed to let everybody know we are live and direct from the studio. I just did a quick live from the polling station because I went and voted early. I would love for us to have the biggest voter turnout ever. So let me just remind you guys that when the polls are open, we cannot, and you cannot, I guess, on this platform have any discussions about the candidates. Now, it's kind of interesting because we are obviously in the business of news. So sometimes you wonder where the lines are. So this morning I've received numerous reports that some candidates have left their social media pages up. And they're supposed to actually take those things down. And they haven't. So the mere fact that they haven't taken those things down means that they're actually in contravention of the elections law. Now, here's my thing. Are we allowed to say that? Like, can I tell you guys right now who those individuals are? Or if I mention that does that become, oh, you can't say that because that's going to make a candidate look bad? But it's a fact. So it's not like a matter of opinion. So what the elections office said is that we can't, because the candidates themselves can't respond. We have to be careful giving any sort of commentary, like opinion pieces or whatever on them, because at the end of the day, they won't be able to respond. And I get that and I understand that. But when it's something factual, like right now, I can go to Facebook and I could show you what pages are still up. And that's breaching the law. And there are other candidates who have followed the law and who have done the right thing And, these guys haven't. So what do you guys think? I mean, I think that our laws are a little bit antiquated for sure. But, is there any room for discussing that? Yeah, Sharon says, don't do it. Don't say their name, but, you guys can go online and I guess have a scroll for yourselves. So after 6 o'clock, we can say who they are. Now, the elections law is also so slack. There seems to be very little enforcement, to be honest, of the law. So even if you report something like this, I feel like the elections office is going to let it slide. Just like you're not supposed to have your physical signs out on the road. If somebody misses a sign, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's like, why have the law there if there will be no enforcement? So Buenos Dias, Irvelin is trying to get out and vote. Yes, please do. Good morning, Joanne. Lizette is here. Richie, good morning. Hi, Larry, joining us from New York. So I'd like for every single person to make sure you exercise your democratic right to vote. I needed to get it out of the way early so that I can focus on this and I'm not watching the clock for the purposes of making sure that I don't miss the polls. So the polls are open at 7 o'clock. They open at 7 o'clock sharp. Someone just asked me where they can go vote. So I'm going to go over that information here in a second. But yes, folks, the polls are open. In fact, I got there before 7 and there were people there waiting. So I was very, very glad to see that. So, thank you guys so much. I'm just checking a few messages here. So, yeah, there's just a little bit of non-compliance, but there was something that happened at the last minute last night as well that we can't talk about until after 6 o'clock, but I don't even want to try to broach this subject, but when at 6 o'clock, you guys will hear exactly what it is and we can talk about it then, because there's just so much shenanigans going on. So even on our website, we went to great lengths to ensure that we took down all the ads for articles. Thank you, Iron Lion. Lo icy, does that mean that I voted? Sounds like it. Yes, let me do something real quick. Someone is asking if a particular candidate has taken their page down, and guess what? It's still up this morning. Yeah. You know what? This is where I just shake my head, because there's absolutely no enforcement. As a matter of fact, give me 1 second. Something I had to do recently was get this app that allows me to do like timestamp photos and stuff like that. I wonder if it does screenshots though. Oh, what is this thing that's in here? I don't think it does. Does it allow me to do a screenshot? So there are a number of offenders of this who've not taken down their pages. So I'm going to take a picture of this one with the timestamp. Okay, hold on one second. Because later on they're going to go back and say, no, it was taken down. So, investigation underway, folks. Investigation underway. You see, some people, this is why you must have your own, this is why you should have proper pages set up, right? You shouldn't have a personal page that you're using for election purposes, because most people are not going to take down their personal pages. But you will obviously know that you have to take down your candidate page. And I know for a fact that some of these people don't have I'm just checking some of these. Some of these people don't actually have candidate pages. Yeah, see this one now, this is her personal page. So this is where the lines are blurred a little bit, because that is her personal page. Suspect. But there is one of a big person who has not taken down their political page. And that's a problem. I'm trying to see who else had sent me a message about this. I've received a few this morning already about this. Yep. So this is why I never recommend, and if you're a candidate, you need to really start to learn how to separate the two. It's the equivalent of also saying, well, I can use my home as my office, my constituency office. No, you need to have a separate space and a separate identity for those sorts of things. So I would always recommend that, because then otherwise you start to, again, blur the lines, and it becomes a time like this when the law says that you have to do X, Y, and Z. If you don't do it and you're in contravention of the law, then you're getting yourself in trouble. And sometimes it could be legit that candidates haven't recognized the difference, although they should. Yay. You know what I mean? So I'm getting a lot of comments about what popped off last night. But like I said, I don't think we can talk about it yet. So we'll have to wait until a bit later on. It's challenging, and quite a few of the candidates actually reached out to me and they're like, what are the laws? I'm like, well, you guys are supposed to know. The elections office should have gone over all of that information with you. And if you had any questions, they are the appropriate persons to ask, right? So, but I do know that in terms of candidate pages, those are supposed to be down. So, who else? Somebody else sent me some messages this morning. I'm trying to just quickly find those messages. It's amazing how messages quickly get pushed down when you start to get other messages. Okay, so some of you are telling me that other pages are up as well. I think it's because, again, those are personal pages. So word of advice, if you're a candidate, if you're running for public office, set up a public page, because with a public page, you can actually unpublish a public page. You can't unpublish a personal page, but you can shut it down. But it gives you the ability to unpublish it when and if you should. So, yeah, here's another one that's up. And this is a public page. This isn't, the thing about it is if you're using that page for the purposes of campaigning, and that's the sole purpose of that page. Here's another one we're going to take a picture of to send to the elections office. I think I have to have it in horizontal mode. Then you got to be careful. Good morning, Richie. Good morning, Keisha. Good morning, Marianne. Yes, child, they're not coming after me today. I got some iced tea. I've got a breakfast sandwich. Someone's joining the show. Chris, did you mean to join the show? I can't hear you. The only way I can hear you is to bring you on screen. Hold on a second. If you didn't mean to, you'll just be a fun guest to have. Morning.
Morning. Hi.
What's going on?
I just got a link to join the show. I didn't really mean to join the show, but good morning.
Yeah, we sent out links because we're gonna have actual people who want to join the show, who intend to join the show, like agents and stuff like that. But you can join the show if you want. It's just that easy, as you see. You click on a link and you're good to go. So let me ask you a question since you're here, Chris. Did you vote yet?
I have.
You have? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking specific about who you voted for. I don't want to know or anything like that. What district are you in?
Georgetown West.
Georgetown West. Okay. And how did you find the process this morning? Did you think it was pretty easy?
Yeah, the flow is pretty easy. It's pretty easy. It wasn't that hard at all to vote. There wasn't a whole lot of line. Well, the line was there, but it was moving swiftly. There were people willing to kind of like, hey, can I get your name, and usher you into the right place. So the experience was pretty good.
Right.
There wasn't a whole lot of layers. If you have a cell phone, leave it in the car, because then that's, it's a lot easier that way. You don't have to put it in a ticket or a bag. Right. But other than that, it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good day.
Go and vote.
Yes, everybody, go out and vote. I want this to be the biggest voter turnout ever. So Jake says that he's in line. Thank you, Chris. Anybody else want to jump on? Hey, it's that easy. Tell me how your experience was. Again, we do not want to talk about any candidates in any way, shape, or form. So I don't want to hear who you voted for until after 6 o'clock. But while the polls are open, let's keep that tight. Yeah, Marva. I think it's one of those things that, and the candidates can't do it all, but when you're part of like bigger organizations and stuff, you've got to make sure that you delegate those things to the appropriate people that will be responsible for it. So Valdez says, don't take the chance. You know how they're always looking to lynch you. Yes, child. They must have a special seat reserved for me at Fairbanks. That'll be Sandy's seat over there when she comes. Leave that cot for her. We ain't going to make that happen. Keisha says that I voted and my son, who is 18, voted for the first time. We certainly need change. Keisha, congratulations to him. I love hearing that young people have voted. So um, 300 feet from the polling stations for journalists. Yes. So we got a message here that says, good morning. I voted in West Bay West. Took like 30 minutes to get it done. Was like about 25 people in front of me, and I went at 7:05 a.m. So I was in Bordentown West, and I went a little bit before 7 o'clock, about 10 minutes before. And there were a good number of people there already, but it took no time at all, because as they said, okay, at 7 o'clock, the polls are open. People lined up, and then they started to go to the individual polling booths, and it was seamless. I had my phone on me, and they gave me a bag and a ticket so I could collect it when I was done. Perhaps you can say which districts the candidates are in that have not taken down their pages. Don't mention the candidates, but perhaps state the districts. I guess, because then it wouldn't be seen to like be singling out a particular person. So yeah, that's possible. So we have April the 6th. So this is interesting, because one of the pages now, someone is saying that that page was just created April the 6th. And we know that his normal page was way before then. So they're wondering if this is some sort of a fake page. There's so much fakeness going on, but definitely Prospect seems to be one in question, as well as the Sister Islands. Again, I think this is a blurring of potential potential personal versus a proper political page. Anybody else want to jump in and tell us how they found their experience at the voting at the polling station? So let's go over some of the details now. Let me just pull this up here. Let's go over some of the details, folks, for today's schedule and, of course, where you can go and vote today. Let me just see here. Okay. Let me see. All right. So a lot of our guests are going to be coming on a bit later on today. Good morning, Mallory. Thank you so much. Mallory has voted. Bonnie did mobile voting. Beautiful. Mayor Star says a change is on the way. Sophia, good morning. I'm good. How are you? For people in the hospital that can't come out to vote, I feel something can change. Someone should come around to help get in some votes. Well, unfortunately, Sophia, if you're in the hospital and you didn't apply for mobile voting, then you might have a problem. So I think it's let me see here. Okay. Yes. So I don't know how you see, I don't think there's anything in the system that really accommodates, like, let's say I had to go to the hospital last night. And you know what? 1 year this actually happened to me. I had to go, I think this was like 2009 or something. I had to go to like the hospital like the day before. And I was like, I need to get out of here. They had me hooked up to IVs. I think I was just like dehydrated or something. But yeah. I was like, I need to hurry up. And there's nothing in place once it's that late in the game for you to be able to participate, unfortunately. So if it was an emergency, then it is what it is. Marva, on my way to Cayman now to head to the polls for Georgetown East with my family. My daughter's in the US and she did her civic duty. Our 4 votes will count today. That's wonderful. There was also, I saw someone post about this where they had sent in their postal ballot from overseas, but there was some contention about whether or not their postal ballot made it in time. And then I saw, I think it was Miss Shirley, we'll have to ask her about this later on, but we saw that she had posted something to say, hey, if this has happened to anyone else, because this is a direct result of the timeline being moved forward, to please contact them because they're going to make sure that, I guess, the international advisor, not international advisors, but the international observers are aware of what transpired. So I think that's unfortunate if someone missed out on the opportunity to vote because, you know, a deadline was missed with putting it back in the post or whatever. Miguel, thank you so much. Georgetown Central has a strong turnout today. Georgetown South is looking good. Awesome. Good morning, Morna. So anybody who's at any of the polling stations, as long as you're not within 300 feet and you do want to call in, WhatsApp me at 324-1612 and I'll send you the link. But anybody can join in. You guys know this already. Anybody can join in on this show. In fact, let me just post the link here. And you can do a live stream. Join us from your location. Let us know how it's going. We do have some people who are going to be doing just that a little bit later on in the day. So let me just see here. So somebody just said that they're heading out to West Bay Central to do their part. Wonderful. Morning, Jackie. Morning, Olivia. Good morning, Miss Morna. Marshall is here for it. Good morning, Sue. Miss Bonnie said, Lord, may your Holy Spirit spread over Cayman today, for we need you more than ever to intervene in the election. Lots of prayers going up today for sure. Child, I had people praying from last night and all week. They were like, I'm going to pray this person out of office. I'm like, whoo. Yes, sir. What a mess. Prayers strong today. Charlene says amen to that. Good morning to Miguel again. He says, will you be driving around today to check out the lines? Not so much so, but we do have people, Miguel, who will be checking in with us. So if you want to, for example, message us what's happening at a particular location, you can. Just be mindful not to really show people's faces and stuff, because not everybody who's voting wants to be on camera, and there is this 300-foot rule. John wants to know, do I think we'll have a repeat of 2017? John, we can't yet have that discussion until after 6 o'clock. So once the polls close, we can get into the more speculative side of things in terms of what will happen. Although that's not specific to any candidate, we're going to just toe the line very, very carefully today. Good morning, Debbie. Miss Romelia is here. Good morning. Let's make history, she says. I have a sandwich here. I'm going to take a bite of the sandwich, by the way. Big shout out to the coffee shop in the beautiful district of Savannah, Newlands area, at Countryside, Country Corner. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do appreciate hot chocolate. And man, they've got these avocado sandwiches that are to die for. So I'm starving. So you guys are going to have to watch me enjoy a little avocado sandwich this morning. Delicious. So Anne is out of the country. And she said she's listening to the show. Why do you have to sit outside to get Wi-Fi? Wouldn't it be the opposite normally? You sit inside? Iron Lion said Savannah was smooth. So let's go over where you need to go, just in case you're unaware. Polling station locations, folks. Allow me to enlarge this so you can see it. If you are in West Bay North, you're going to go to the First Assembly Church of God Hall at 100 Finch Drive in West Bay. If you are, somebody's just messaging me now. That's my Georgetown East. Okay, I'm coming. Someone else was asking me where to go vote. All right, so let's go over this, because I think a lot of people have questions about where they need to go and vote. All right. Yes, let's get this done. I know somebody else. Where did that message come in? Someone did say. I thought it was WhatsApp, but I'm trying to find it. Someone else was just asking me. All right, West Bay North. You go to First Assembly Church of God. Now, some people don't even know. They know based on, I think, who's running, but you should, again, check your card. And there's a corresponding page here that will tell you who is in what area. So if you only know, because sometimes there's so many names now, if you only know based on who's running, there's another page that tells you the candidates, right? So we can go over that in a second. West Bay North is the First Assembly Church of God. West Bay West is John A. Cumber Primary School on Fountain Road. West Bay Central is the Church of God at West Bay Church Hall. West Bay South is a John Gray Memorial United Church. Isn't it interesting that all of the polling locations in West Bay are all churches? It's like divine intervention needed, right? Good morning, Jasara. Keisha said it was very easy. In and out in 5 minutes. Good morning, Mr. Giles. Uh-oh. Making sure I don't knock over my light here. Miguel wants to know if they know how to take down their pages because there's at least 3 pages on Instagram. Well, this is a thing. I don't actually know if they do or not. But they're supposed to know, or they're supposed to find someone who knows. Keisha, can you vote if you're in quarantine? You could have applied for mobile voting, and that's how they accommodated people in quarantine. But of course, there was a deadline to apply for mobile voting, and there was a deadline for mobile voting to be carried out. So if you miss the deadline, unfortunately, you miss the deadline. Charlene is asking about postal ballots that were received late. Like I said, I did see a post about someone saying that they missed it. They missed the deadline. But I don't actually know if there was a deadline for those to be received, and if they missed it, how many wouldn't be counted. That's a question that we're going to have to ask Mr. Wesley Howell. So we'll definitely inquire. All right, Georgetown. We've got Georgetown North. There's Georgetown Primary. Georgetown Central is Constitution Hall. Georgetown West is Cayman Prep School. Georgetown South is John Gray High School. And Georgetown East is First Baptist Church Hall. Okay, so that's all the Georgetown constituencies. There's 5 in Georgetown. Then we have Red Bay. It's Red Bay Primary School, Red Bay Primary. Prospect is Prospect Primary. Savannah is the Joanna Clark Savannah Primary School. Newlands is at the International College of the Cayman Islands. So again, this is interesting because they're all schools, which we know often are used for these purposes. So Red Bay, Prospect, Savannah, Newlands will all be at learning institutions. Hopefully that means that we're the smart ones. Well, I'm not even in that area, so I shouldn't say we, but we're all going to be smart. So Bordentown West, that's where I voted this morning, is at the Agricultural Grounds Pavilion. So the same place they have the agriculture show. Ample parking and everything, of course. Bordentown East is at the Theolin McCoy Bordentown Primary School. And that's right there in Condor Road. North Side is going to be at the Credit Ebanks Civic Center. And East End is at the William Allen McLaughlin Civic Center. And then we have Cayman Brack and Little Cayman, both at primary schools. So Cayman Brack West and Little Cayman is going to be West End Primary. And then Cayman Brack East is at Creek Primary School. So good folks, I'm going to share this link with you all in the comment section in case you need it. You can refer to it and you can share it with other people as well. So there's no reason why you shouldn't know where you need to go. Good morning. Michael says, are those working today should be given time off by their employers to go vote? Yes, they should be. I see Cece is joining us. Good morning, Cece.
Good morning, Grand Cayman.
What's up?
I am good. Wake up, Cayman Islands. People who's not up yet, get your morning coffee, son. Your vitamin S is brightened out. Get out and vote. Everyone, let your vote count. We need you, all young people, come out and vote. It's time for a change, Cayman. Like, come on. Today, you have the power to change the way Cayman Islands will be, how it will be from today going forward. Please don't waste your vote. Vote wise. It's looking like a sunny, bright day.
Thank you so much. Now, Cece, where do you vote?
Well, now I'm Georgetown South.
Okay.
Have you heard that a lot of people had an issue where their addresses was changed without them being notified?
No, I haven't heard that.
A lot of people are complaining about it because I was always for Georgetown North. You understand? And all of a sudden, my address has changed to Georgetown South. But guess what? Everybody know who I am in support of. No need to stress that. My ex still going to who I love.
So you're saying then that the elections office changed your electoral district and didn't advise you of the change?
Yes, ma'am.
So on what information would they have changed it? Based on what?
We don't even have a clue. I called Inquire and they said that I can't do anything about it. I just have to work with it for now. And after elections, I can put in an application.
But did you actually move? I mean, I'm confused how they...
My address will always forever be Georgetown North. Period. That will always be my address. But, you know, my mother stays Windsor Park. So
Yeah.
I be between. But I always use my Georgetown North address because that's really where I am from.
But it's not where you're from. It's where you're living. So if your residence change, you have to change it. Sorry?
I am between all two.
Ah. Well, I guess they wanted you in the South this time.
You're right about that. But
so you voted already, Cindy?
No, I'm actually on my way to vote, but I'm busy giving people a ride to vote. You know? So I'm going there shortly to vote.
Okay. So someone has advised me that please announce there are 5 buses going around Newlands and Savannah all day, free shuttle if anyone needs a ride. 2 coasters, 3 vans all day for anyone who wanted to ride to the polls. Well, who's giving them a ride? Is the question, because you don't want to jump in.
All if the opposite party is giving you a ride, take the ride and vote them out. Cayman young people, please come out and vote. Let your vote count today. We really need you guys. We are the future. Seeing it, we
Mm-hmm.
all passing through here, but the least we can do is to secure a foundation for our children and great grandchildren to come. Don't sit down about you not voting because nothing not changing. That's garbage. If you want to change, vote new.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, good folks. Give us a call if you'd like to participate in the show. I'm just printing off a few bios for some of my guests that will be joining us a bit later on. It's that easy to get on the show. You just click on the little link and bam, you're in the studio. Clifton says, no, you can't eat unless we're all eating. Clifton, believe me, we're going to need a pot of something good here later on today. Thank you so much, Miss Anne. She says, you're the best. It must take all of your self-discipline to not get pulled into saying anything that will get you hauled over. Bet they are monitoring you more than the polls. Anything's possible. Anything possible. Siobhan, good morning, my friend. How are you? West Bay Central. So we just went over the polling station. So West Bay Central was the only one that changed from last 4 years ago. And Mr. Wesley Howell did say that that was because they found that last time there was just not sufficient space for them to do what they had to do. So in fact, we do have a video. Let me just grab this video because I think this is very useful information with Mr. Howell. He was interviewed on Monday afternoon. So this is that interview. It's about 7 minutes, but it's good, useful information about the process today and how it's going to work. So let's go ahead and take a few minutes to review that. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning, Purple Rains. Remember, no names. So Purple, I'm going to have to delete. Oh, I can't delete your comment actually because you're on YouTube. So I'm not going to show it on the screen, but don't put up any comments with any candidate names. So we have very, very strict rules. Purple, you keep doing it. Don't do it. Don't do it. We have very strict rules about not promoting any candidates while the polls are open. And so if you can remove your comments for me, the only option I have is to put you in timeout or to block you. And I'd rather not do that. Purple. Don't do it. Remove those comments. Take your comments down. Yeah, because otherwise I am going to have to block you for real. So folks, let me just see if I can review what Mr. Wesley said to me in terms of what you can and can't do. So we cannot do any sort of promoting or appearing to be promoting of anyone. That's why you can't wear any shirts that link you to a specific candidate. No, nothing like that. You can't do exit polls. So here's my notes to myself. No exit polling, no political broadcasting, no political commentary from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. There's an embargo on the candidates themselves. So they can't go out there doing anything, really. And anything that could be seen to be affecting the outcome of the election is not permitted. You have to remain 300 feet outside of the what's called exclusion zone, so we can't go live within that area. And Friday was the last day actually for mobile voting. So that's why I was saying earlier that the mobile voting would be missed. Jenny voted this morning in Georgetown North. Good morning, Chance is in the BRAC. Lavanya has just voted and it feels good. Yeah, I felt good to vote as well. So Purple, if you can actually delete those comments, we would appreciate it. Ooh, Lavania's cooking for 3 different candidates. Ooh, nice. Lavania, what is on the menu? Let us know. Purple, we can all think it's BS, but we got to follow the rules. Trust me. Troy, I think, is on his way to vote. Troy, do you want to give us a little call before you go to vote? Jess says, I'm a proud grandmother this morning. My eldest grandchild at 18 voted. And I'm so proud, so thankful that Almighty God granted me this privilege. Wow. And you know, I was actually saying this morning that I think we take for granted how privileged we are to be able to vote. Because, you know, honestly, there are people around the world who are not allowed to vote for different reasons, because they're women, because they're people of color, because they're in a particular caste system in certain places in the world. There's so many people who are disenfranchised because they live in communist countries and they live in dictatorships. So the fact that we have the privilege and the obligation to be able to go out there and vote, I think it is definitely something that we should exercise with compassion, with passion, and as much zest as possible. Like, legit get out there and vote. So Irvlyn, you're done? See? Just a few minutes ago, Irvlyn was getting out the door, and now she's letting us know that she is finito. Irvlyn, join us, jump in on the show. Let us know how that was. Let me send it to you on WhatsApp. Where are you? There you are. So let us know how that went. So I got another one. Another message here. Let me see. So there are people who continue to have their accounts, their WhatsApp accounts, hijacked basically by some not so nice people. So I want to invite all of you to be mindful of the fact that this is possible. And if somebody sends you a link and they're like, oh, send the code or click on this, do not do it, because they're about to confiscate your WhatsApp. And I don't know how easy it is to get it back once that happens. So it's actually happened to a couple of candidates during the election, which is horrible because now they've had to get all these alternate numbers. So thank you, Miss Darlene. She did postal voting. Venice has voted. Congratulations. Good morning, Miss Barbara. Oh, yes. Irvlyn says she's driving. No problem. When you get back home, you call us. Sandra, thank you. Good morning. Julie, good morning to you. Julie says, good morning. Remember that today is our day. The future of our home depends on us. Peace and love. Yes. West Bay Central is at the Church of God in Reginald Parsons Drive. So let's just review one more time for anyone who may have missed it, exactly where the polling stations, oops, hold on one second. That's the wrong one. Exactly where they are. Okay, so let's start from the bottom this time. We have, oh, no, we're gonna go back. Cayman Brackies is at the Creek Primary School. Cayman Brat West and Little Cayman is at West End Primary. That's number 10 Cotton Tree Road in Cayman Brac. East End is at the William Allen McLaughlin Civic Center. So that's the Civic Center right there in East End. North Side is at the Craddock Ebanks Civic Center, or as we may say, Cradock. Bodden Town East is at the Theolin McCoy Bordentown Primary School, formerly known as the Bordentown Primary School. Bordentown West is at the Agricultural Grounds Pavilion. Newlands is the International College of the Cayman Islands. Savannah is the Joanna Clark Savannah Primary School. Prospect is the Prospect Primary School. Red Bay is at the Red Bay Primary School. Georgetown East is First Baptist Church Hall. That's right there in Crew Road, folks. Georgetown South is at the John Gray High School. Georgetown West is Cayman Prep School. Georgetown Central is at Constitution Hall, which is also known as the Georgetown Town Hall. So right, Fort Street, right behind the town clock. Georgetown North is Georgetown Primary School. West Bay South is John Gray Memorial United Church. West Bay Central is the Church of God at West Bay, which is Reginald Parsons Drive. And West Bay West is the Sir John A. Cumber Primary School. And West Bay North is the First Assembly of God Church Hall. I did say earlier that all of the ones in West Bay were churches, except now I'm saying that actually West Bay West is a primary school. Almost all were churches in West Bay. All right, so we have Mr. Famous, an MP from Bermuda. Give us 1 second, Mr. Famous. So just for the purposes of our viewers, we're so tickled pink to have a variety of guests that will be joining us throughout the program today. And this is kind of what you can expect. So this morning, we're going to do a little kickoff show, poll openings and check-ins with everyone. And then we'll take a break here in a bit, and we're going to come back around 12:30. And we're going to talk about some of the top issues. So we can talk about issues, but we can't talk about candidates. So we'll talk about the top 10 issues of the 2021 election. And then we'll do that for maybe an hour or so. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll do the poll check-ins. And then we'll come back at 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock is going to be the real rundown, folks. Results mapping and candidate analysis, because 6 p.m. the polls close. Then we're able to say whatever we want. That's when it's going to pop off. It's going to be hot, 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 hot. So let me just send this out to our WhatsApp group so that they have an idea of what's happening today. So this is a rough schedule. I mean, you know, we on Cayman time. Let me just. All right, so I'm sending that. By the way, folks, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, you do get all of our information. So sometimes people say, Sandy, you know, I missed this on Facebook. I didn't see this. I didn't see that. So the benefit of the WhatsApp group is you don't miss anything, because we do send you everything. And not only do you get everything, but sometimes you get a little bit extra in terms of exclusives. So there are times when, you know, something happens to someone and we're not ready to put it out in the public domain. But what we will do is send it to our WhatsApp group, which is still, you know, everybody knows that's considered quote unquote public. And then they get the information, but it's not going to be printed or posted on social media. The other important thing about the WhatsApp group, and I want to clarify this because a lot of people don't know this, it's technically not a group. It is technically a, look there, I'm going to put up my other photo. It is technically it's a notification list. So what that means for those of you who are not all that tech savvy is that I know who's in the group. I add you to the group and I can see who's in the group, but other people don't know who are in that list or who are on that list. And when I send out notification messages, everyone gets the messages, but you don't see other people. And not only do you not see other people, but if you respond to a message that is sent out, it basically then is a private message. So it comes directly to me, and I'm the only person who sees it. There are other types of WhatsApp groups that you can see everybody in the group and you're able to comment, and then everybody sees each other's phone numbers and each other's comments and that sort of thing. That's not the type of group that we have. And really it's for privacy reasons, because sometimes when I send out a story, people then say, oh, I have additional information and so on and so forth. And they can provide and share that information knowing that their identity has been kept totally confidential. Mr. Famous, good morning to you, my dear.
Good morning, Sister Sandy. Good morning, Cayman Islands, Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman.
So,
welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome to the program this morning. This is Thomas Christopher Famous. He's a two-time elected member of parliament in the Bermuda House of Assembly. He's also the campaign chair of the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party, which is the PLP there in Bermuda. Since 2012, he and his team have been highly successful in winning multiple by-elections and 2 general elections, their last one being October of 2020. He's also the official representative of the government of Bermuda to CARICOM and other overseas territories. He has a radio show, so he's a radio host, weekly columnist in Bermuda and the British Virgin Islands. So good morning, good sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Allow me to just read a few more. Allow me to just read a few more comments to get caught up here. Sanya says that she's going to go out and pick up people to take them to the polls. That happens a lot here, where people will assist with going to the polls, shuttles, and so forth. In your jurisdiction, do you prefer to go by Thomas or Christopher?
Either one. Most people call me Chris. So
okay, Chris.
Whichever one.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was saying to myself.
Just don't call me Bobo.
Sorry?
I said, just don't call me Bobo.
Oh, oh my gosh. That's a Caymanian thing for sure. But in Bermuda, just by way of comparison, can you tell us, do you guys do a lot of like shuttling as well?
Yes,
like,
what we term it is called the GOTV, which is called the Get Out the Vote. So the difference in Bermuda is that we don't have quote unquote independence. We have two main parties, right? So from a party structure, what we have is we have a Get Out the Vote, which means you're calling your voters in each constituency, WhatsApping them, emailing them. If they need a ride, you already have your transportation lined up, whether it be private cars, taxis, or minibuses. So there's a whole machine that goes behind election day to ensure that we get our voters to the polls.
Okay, so very, very similar. And I think it's important because, you know, sometimes voters, like someone was messaging today to say, are the buses operating? And it is a public holiday here in the Cayman Islands. And so I don't know what the bus schedule system is like, but I think oftentimes, you know, the public transport system is not incredibly reliable. So you may have a situation where they just don't have the means to get to the polls. I think that that's awesome to hear that in Bermuda you guys have a similar situation where it's in the best interest, I think, of all candidates that the voter turnout is as high as possible.
Yeah, especially if you are the challenging candidate, or in your case, candidates, the higher in theory, the higher the voter turnout, the more probability of quote unquote a change. Now that also depends on what is the public sentiment. If the public sentiment is behind the current government, whichever country it may be, they may want to ensure that they have order the voters turnout. So by now, each candidate should have an idea of who is actually supporting them and who isn't supporting them, and they want to make sure that they should have a checklist of what they call party supporters. Well, we call it party supporters, but let's say supporters. And let's say you're. I'm just going to use an example. Let's say you're in East End, and there are 750 odd voters. Whoever's the candidate there, you want to have at least 350 people saying that they're going to vote for you. So you have that list, and throughout the day, you would, as these people come to the polls, you mark off their names. You mark off their names, and let's say you have started with a list of 300, and then by midday you're only seeing 100. So by 12 o'clock, you're going to start making calls, emails, literally going to people's houses, dragging them out of the houses, well, in your case, your bars are closed. But you literally have to start dragging people to the polls at a certain point in time.
Right. Yes. So that's very, very important for voter turnout. Now, so far, we've received a lot of positive feedback. Dave is requesting the number for the notification group. I just have it scrolling there across the page. I've already had 2 persons since I made that announcement request to be added. Barbara, can you just shoot me a quick message on WhatsApp? I know I have your number somewhere in my WhatsApp phone. So just shoot the request there and I'll make sure that you're added. So the system so far this morning appears to be very, very smooth. We've not heard of any complaints. Charlene says that she loves the WhatsApp group and she's staying in the know because of that group. So what time do your polls normally open and close? Do you have similar hours? I mean, we have from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Do you have similar hours there in Bermuda?
No, in Bermuda, yes. So it's 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that's 11 hours, correct?
Yes.
Okay, in Bermuda, traditionally our polls have always started at 8, and they go from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. So there's 12 hours of polling. Now, the difference between one of the significant differences between Bermuda and Cayman Islands or many other overseas territories is that you'll actually have a holiday for election day.
Yes.
So that means people don't have to work, most people won't have to work. So people have very little excuse not to vote. In Bermuda and in most other overseas territories, the election days are normally during the weekday on a regular working day. So we allow for 12 hours, which in the law, it allows for persons to get 2 hours off from work in order to cast a ballot. So let's say hypothetically that I lived in West Bay North, but I worked in Savannah or I worked in Boddington. If I was at work, my boss would have to give me 2 hours off in order for me to drive back to my constituency, cast my vote, and then come back to work. Or I just come to work 2 hours later than normal. But in law, by law, we allow for people to have 2 hours off to get to and from the polling station.
But it's not a public holiday.
No, never. Cayman Islands is unique in the sense that they give a public holiday for election day.
Interesting. And I do know that in our law as well, I'll have to check what section of the law, but there is somewhere in the law that does require it to require employers to likewise give people the date or some amount of time off in order to be able to go and vote. Now, I don't know. Let me just see if I can have a look at the law. I don't actually know if it is a specified amount of time, but definitely the right to vote is in what's now called the Elections Act. It's no longer the law. And there were some last minute changes to the act last night that a lot of people were questioning. And I think this again is a question for Mr. Wesley Howell, but obviously him and his team are awfully busy today. But there was the permission granted to have the postal ballots and the mobile ballots put in with the regular ballots. And a lot of people are like, how exactly is that going to work? And they were questioning why it was being done this time around. So we'll see if we can get some answers in relation to that. So Charlene, Miss Marva's here. Marva is reminding people that you can use your passports or your driver's license as well as your voter's ID card. I think pretty much anything that has a photo ID and your name clearly stated, preferably a government issued ID, would definitely be something that you would want to utilize in order to take to the polls with you. Because remember the process, folks, is they will actually be cross-referencing your name against the name that is on the list. So quite a few people, I'm getting your request to add you to the group. So thank you so much. We literally have several notification groups and there are hundreds of people in each of those groups. So I'm going to add you as you send your request. Now do me a favor, if you send your requests, also include your names because I don't have any way of knowing who you are on WhatsApp. Your number just pops up and sometimes it doesn't always show your proper name. So make sure you include your name as well. All right, wonderful. So Miss Anne is saying that is done here as well. What part, Miss Anne, specifically? Good morning, Marshall. So I gave your WhatsApp number, saved in my phone, and I'd like to be added to the group. Okay, Marshall, I'm guessing you WhatsApped me with that request. Just let me know that it's you. Troy says, word is that West Bay West polling station at John Cumber is busy calling all West Bay West voters to wake up and smell the coffee. So if you're at a polling station, you're free to join in the live stream. We would appreciate that. Not a problem. Just make sure now that you're within that 300-foot radius of outside of the polling station so that you're in full compliance. And we have a lot of very specific things that you can and can't do, Chris, as it relates to the elections law. It's the law itself, which is now called the Elections Act 2021, is some 156 pages. Is your legislation there as comprehensive, you think? I'm sure that it is, but
I wouldn't say, I can't give you exact page count. What we did in 2017 is we did a review of the Election Act. And we had some changes in legislation in early 2020, which kind of streamlined things because like you all have something there that most other overseas territories don't. And in a sense, you're allowed to have postal ballots in other overseas territories. Once you're out of the island, you're not going to get to vote. You have mobile balloting, which you've had for a number of election cycles. In our last election cycle, we just introduced what we called voting at home, or what you call mobile voting. So one of the things that you just spoke of where the ballots were added. So I'll give you an example. We have advanced polling, which allows for persons who were going off island prior to the election, they can vote prior to the election. Then we added in voting at home or mobile ballots. So let's say hypothetically during the advanced polling, 20 ballots were cast. Whoever they voted for doesn't matter, but 20 ballots were cast. Those ballots are folded and then put into a sealed manila envelope. During the mobile voting, same thing. Those ballots are sealed and folded and put into a sealed manila envelope. Then on election day at approximately 7:30, those ballots are unsealed. The envelopes are unsealed, and the ballots not open in the sense that you see who voted for, but they are counted to say 10 ballots from advanced polling, 20 ballots from mobile polling. These now go into the ballot box. So at the end of the night, once 8:30 comes and they start counting the ballots, they are counting the ballots that are all combined, whether they were mobile voting, advanced polls, or on the actual day of the election. So you never really know which ballots came from what. You would know how many ballots came from advanced polls and how many ballots were from mobile polls, but you'll never know how the people voted, right? They weren't the actual candidate count isn't taken. You have an idea because those ones are at the bottom of the ballot box. You would know, just as electoral science would tell you, that the ones at the bottom are going to be the last ones that are counted. So when they're calling out the names, e-banks, or whatever name, you know, like, okay, that was from mobile polling, like, you know.
Right. That's interesting. Huh. Traditionally, here in the Cayman Islands, they have actually separated. So they would say, we're going to do the postal ballots first, and they would go through those so that you knew exactly how many you received from the postals, which I'm not really sure. So someone said that Howell did an explanation this morning, and he said that there were few postal ballots and one box only. Counting that solo would take away the privacy of the voter. Oh, I see. I'm not sure how that takes away the privacy of the voter, but okay. I mean, whether it's 1 or 20, the only way you would know someone voted by postal, I suppose, is if they told you. Now, going back to this point of employers allowing employees time to vote, this is section 92, 1 and 2 of the Elections Act 2021. So it says that every employer shall, so this isn't going to be optional, on polling day, allow to every elector in that person's employ a reasonable period of time or a reasonable period for voting, and no employer shall make any deduction from the pay or other remuneration of any such elector or impose upon or extract from that elector any penalty by reason of that person's absence during such period. So in other words, not only do you have the right to go to the polls and to vote, even if you're working on that day, it only says reasonable time, which, you know, I guess they're going to tell you to go and come back sort of thing. But whatever amount of time it takes you to get there and to come back, so you've got reasonable time to do so. And then most importantly, in addition to that, there are no deductions that are permitted at all. So they can't deduct it as, you know, oh, it's going to be a 15-minute break, or it's going to be, it shouldn't even be counted as one of your breaks, because that would then be considered a deduction, in my opinion. And then subsection 2 goes on to say any employer who directly or indirectly refuses or by intimidation, undue influence, or in any way interferes with the granting to any elector and that person's employ of such period for voting as is in this section provided commits an offense and on summary conviction before magistrate is liable to fine of $5,000 or to imprisonment for 6 months. So wow, can be looking at some jail time there. So I think that that's fair. Someone was asking, I think that was Miss Ann. Right, Miss Ann says, I wonder if the turnout would be higher if it was not a holiday. Well, I don't think it'd be higher. I think the
It would be
opposite
lower.
might happen, where it would probably be lower if it was not a holiday.
Yeah, I just looked at our election act, and we have a total of 44 pages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very, very straightforward then.
Yeah, it's I mean, election, no offense to any lawyers present, but election acts are generally drafted by lawyers and politicians, right? And sometimes lawyers like to get paid by the word, so I'll leave it at that.
Right. Do you get a sense that, here people, we were having this discussion at lunch yesterday, people are always questioning the system and the security of things. Do you have any?
What do you mean as far as the ballots and safety of the ballot boxes?
Yes, like the safety of their vote, the confidentiality of their vote. Do you guys, by and large, in Bermuda, trust the system?
Yes, we've never had any cases of electoral fraud in the sense to say ballot boxes going missing or people stuffing ballots or anything of that, because similar to I watched earlier coverage of the ballot boxes being rolled out in Cayman Islands. And similar to that, in Bermuda, what happens is that these ballot boxes are under tight security, whether it be a private security company or the police. The minute it leaves the parliamentary registrar's office, it goes to the polling station. At the polling station, there are what we call return officers who work. These are persons who work for the parliamentary registrar, and then there are also independent agents from each party inside the polling station. So there's absolutely, unless somebody is David Copperfield or Houdini, there's absolutely no way the ballot boxes can be tampered with before, during, or after. Well, not so much after, but before or during the election process itself. So we've never had anyone say, "Oh well, I suspect that you guys stuffed 20 extra ballots in the box." That it is ways to reconcile, because we have two parties. We have Party A, they are taking account of how many voters came in. Party B are taking account of how many voters come in. The parliamentary registrar is taking a vote of how many voters come in. So at the end of the night, everybody reconciles the numbers, and you might be off by one or her other, but nothing to the fact that anyone can claim election fraud. Now, I don't know the full process in Cayman Island, but I suspect it's similar.
Yes, well, the security is indeed very, very tight in terms of the movement of the ballot boxes and, indeed how people are cross-referenced and cross-checked even for their ability to be able to vote. Now, you made mention that you guys are heavily a party system. Do you not have independents running at all? Is it all parties or?
We have, how can I say? In Cayman Islands, you have 19 constituencies or districts, as you may call it. In Bermuda, we have 36. So each party, we have two main parties here. The party I represent, the Progressive Labor Party, and then there's the One Bermuda Alliance.
Mhm.
Interestingly, in the last election, a third party came out, which is they were called Free Democratic Movement, FDM. So we, for the first time in our recent history, we had three parties running. Now,
Mhm.
my party was the only party that fielded 36 candidates. The opposition, they fielded 31. The FDM, they fielded, I want to say 10. And we had a few quote unquote independents that ran. But generally here, no one takes independent candidates seriously in Bermuda. If an independent candidate gets 50 votes, that will be a record. Like you're not if you get in as an independent, what can you do? You're just gonna be this echo chamber on the wall, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't have other independents running with you. So everything here has always been stratified along party lines, and it has a lot to do with our racial history in Bermuda in the sense that there's the black party and then there's the white party, or traditionally that's how it has been founded. In Cayman Islands, you probably don't have as much of a racial issue as we have for different reasons. So it leads to a little bit more homogenous sort of thing going on in Cayman Islands.
Mhm. Okay, thank you so much for giving us that little bit of insight. It's so interesting indeed to see how the systems are similar, and of course where there are some interesting divergences from what we have here. So just receiving some additional comments. Let me just see here, folks. So someone shared a map last night of the electoral district polling locations, and the Compass has messaged us. We did not realize that this was a Compass production, and they have messaged us asking us to not use their image that they have put up. It was to give them credit. It was actually a nicely done map. So apologies to the Cayman Compass. We were not trying to infringe on anything that you have done. We actually did not realize that that was the source of it, because I think we saw some candidates and others putting it up. So we will be more than happy, Compass, to now remove that from our Facebook page. I think that's where it was published. It just basically said it was just telling people where to go vote, which you can get that information on the election website. So Compass, we just saw your email, Kathleen. Thank you. It has been removed. Let me also make sure I remove it from Instagram. And we do have some photos that we're going to share here this morning that were taken early this morning that are actually from the process thus far. Let me just see here. Yes. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, so we have photos of the, I think the elections office is just keen to be as transparent as possible, which is very, very important. And so we do have some photos of what has transpired this morning. So just give me 1 second to pull some of these up for our benefit. So here we have Mr. Wesley Howell, who is unsealing the door this morning to the, I guess, I don't know what point it was sealed, but this is the actual elections office. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the press release that came with this so that we can go through all of the details for you. I think that this lends to transparency. I'm sure you can agree, Chris. You know, a lot of people, I think, are skeptical about the process. So as much information as is readily available, the better, right?
Yeah,
So
it definitely does because We have similar processes in Bermuda.
Yes. Um,
So what happens in Bermuda is at 7:30, all candidates, and for that way, are allowed to come inside the polling station and actually look inside the ballot box to ensure
mhm,
that there are no ballots in there already. And
mhm,
then the ballot box is actually locked with a padlock.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Let me just see here. So this is Mr. Wesley, and this is the accompanying press statement that went out this morning in relation to that. So election staff kicked off what is expected to be an extremely busy election day with a flurry of activity starting at 4 a.m. Wednesday morning, which was this morning. And I think it's important to really give a big shout out, really, to all of the hardworking election employees and staff members that make this possible, because they do work incredibly hard to pull off a successful event today. So, Mr. Wesley Howell, of course, is a supervisor of elections, but it is an entire team of, I would dare say, probably hundreds of people potentially that make this all possible. So, the polling stations open across the Cayman Islands at 7 a.m. with a minute of silence to mark the as a mark of respect for His Royal Highness Prince Philip. And then the polling began at 7:01 a.m. Election staff wore black ribbon pins to mark their respect. And again, of course, we are still an overseas territory, very much connected to the UK. And polling and logistical staff were deployed in school buses starting at 5 a.m. to the 17 electoral districts across Grand Cayman, along with empty ballot boxes and unmarked ballots in preparation to begin accepting voters from 7 a.m. So let's have a look. I think we have a bus photo here. So there they are, meeting at the Government Administration Building, and then getting in the respective buses, where they are then escorted to whatever polling station they would be working at. And I think this is also important because they're not transporting anything in a private vehicle or anything of the sort. There's official means of transportation, official means that they're transported by, as well as the actual ballot boxes, which will then be escorted with a police escort if they have to be escorted anywhere. So here again is the government admin building, and they've got ballot boxes there in the little carts headed to the buses. So the additional information says that polling and logistical staff again were deployed from 5 a.m. In the BRAC, similar action took place to open the polls at their 2 electoral districts. The Government Administration Building, which is the Election Command Center and Media Center, were manned from 7 a.m. for the 7 a.m. start of polling. And of course, Mr. Wesley says that he's very pleased with how smooth the election rollout has gone so far, and the teams have done an exceptional job, and everything is going as planned and organized. So some morning showers. Looks like we had a little bit of rain this morning, but all I can see right now are clear blue skies. So I think that we're in good stead in terms of the weather. Also present at the command center was domestic election observer, Mr. Colford Scott. He's one of 8 observers who will be visiting the polling stations around Grand Cayman, as well as one on Cayman Brac. Explaining some of the work of the domestic observers over the day, Mr. Scott said that they're going to be observing the process to see how everything is going according to law and that international best practices are maintained. So far, the mobile polling has been very efficiently carried out, and postal and mobile ballots will be added to one of the regular boxes to ensure that the process of secrecy of polling is maintained. So there's 17 buses left between 5 and 5:30 a.m. to go to the respective polling stations. and they're expecting that all will be open on time at 7. I know I was at the polling station shortly before 7, the Bordentown one, and it opened promptly. So I think we're good. So we have, again, buses that left out at 5 a.m., some headed as far out, obviously, as East End. Deployment of the staff to the 17 polling stations at the different districts in Grand Cayman, and then there's 2 in Cayman Brac. And Mr. Wesley Howell unseals the doors where the election paraphernalia, including the empty ballot boxes, were stored inside of the government administration building under strict police watch. The gathered election staff took a minute to start the proceedings with prayer, and the Georgetown North team gets ready for deployment. So that's some of the photos that we are seeing here. So this is them with a moment of prayer. Of course, we are a God-fearing country, so they're asking for prayer and guidance and peace today. And we've always had peaceful elections, and I trust and hope and pray that that never, ever changes. But these are some of the staff members. I see some familiar faces, Mr. Jackson, Corey in Glasgow, Mr. Egbert Jackson is there, and Mr. Watler. I can't remember Mr. Watler's first name now, but his wife is a super fan, Miss Janet's husband, and he's also the former head of the civil service. What is it called? The civil service. Their NPO, Civil Service Association, I think is what it's called. So, yep, here they are being deployed from the government admin building bright and early this morning at 5 o'clock. So they're going to have a very, very long day. As you can see, folks, the sun was not even up yet. So if you're just joining the program, folks, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We do have a day's worth of election coverage for you that let me just kind of show you what we've got planned. We won't be doing a straight 12-hour shot because that's a lot even for me. So we're going to take some breaks in between, but this is what we're looking at. 7:30 a.m. We've already started. We're going to go for a little bit longer, just doing some general information, poll opening and check-ins, and taking some of your comments. Then we'll break, come back around 12:30, talk about the top 10 election news issues facing the Cayman Islands. Again, we won't be speaking specific to any candidates, but just generally speaking. Okay, so those are out in the sun lining up. Yes, and we will be talking to some, getting your comments and talking to some people at different polling stations. So one comment says you might want to go check in at what's happening in Newlands for parking and setup. Because of moving the location, voters are out in the sun lining up. I wasn't aware that they moved it because it was that same place last time. As a matter of fact, I know it was the same last time because I voted in Newlands. So that's strange. So let me look into that. I'm not too far from Newlands, so maybe when we take a break, I can definitely have a look and see what is going on there. So that's more or less the schedule. Then we'll come back at 2 o'clock. We'll do some more poll check-ins. And then at 6 p.m., we will start in earnest to look at the mapping. The results start to flow in, and we'll see how it goes from there. Now, one of the candidates last night had a little faux pas. They actually fell and broke some ribs. So we don't want to tell you who it is yet, because they might say that we're trying to get sympathy votes for that person. But after the polls close, I think we need to speak to that candidate and hear exactly how did they fall. My gosh, and broke ribs. That's quite serious. So we'll get some information. Let me just go through the guests that will be joining us throughout the day. We have Mr. Craig Marin. A lot of you will know him as a local business owner. He was also involved in the telecom industry, and he's represented the Cayman Islands on the Olympic level as a cyclist. We have Miss Ruth Anna Young, former talk show host over on Star 92.7. And she now works in the opposition office, and she is out and about in the field today. So we'll be checking in with her at some point. We have Mr. Thomas Famous, who we're speaking to now, Thomas Christopher Famous, who's a 2-time MP there in Bermuda. He's a sitting MP. We have Mr. Troy Leacock from the beautiful district of West Bay. And I think Troy is actually an agent, so we're going to be speaking with Troy throughout the day as well. And we also have Mr. Jevy Ebanks, who will likewise be joining us on the program. And Miss Karen, let me just see where I put Miss Karen's photo. Miss Karen Thompson is going to be joining us as well. And of course, many of you will know Miss Karen Thompson is an attorney at law here in the Cayman Islands. And of course, that's me, folks, and I'm always here. So, Mr. Thomas, let's bring you back in to the feed here. So far, it seems like everything is going smoothly from all accounts. We're going to read a few more comments. Let me just see here. So let's see where we left off. Yes, Barbara, so just message me. Charlene is good to go. Miss Norma, good morning. Jesus, buenos dias. Jacqueline would like to be added to the group. Jacqueline, just simply shoot us a quick WhatsApp message, 324-1612. Good morning, Mr. Walton. He's all tuned in. Yes, Miss Charlene. Oh, yes, I think we did some of these already. Okay, so Charlene says, I think it's a great idea. It helps to expedite the counting process. But my query or concern is why at the time was it not introduced in the process? I'm assuming, Charlene, you're referring to the amalgamation of the postal ballots into the postal and mobile into everything else. I think that maybe what happened is, I mean, I don't know, because they probably would have known this before, but as it said, it was such a small number that maybe on reflection, they thought, well, it's such a small number, let's just put it into everything. So we do have Ruth Anna, who has joined us on the stream. Ruth Anna, good morning.
Morning, everyone. How is it going?
We are fantastic. How are you?
Morning.
I'm good. Morning, Mr. Famous. I actually just cast my vote at the Newlands polling station.
Okay.
And as I was coming out, I did see one of the candidates entering to go cast their vote at the station as well. I was literally 8 minutes from start to finish, leaving my car, queuing to get my ID checked. You join one of 5 lines inside the various polling stations. You get your ballot, you cast your vote, you drop your ballot in the box and you exit. But that whole process would be 8 minutes. There's virtually no line out here. Although I know when I passed by at about 5:30, there were people queued up from that time this morning. But everything is going very smoothly out here. People are being very orderly and quiet, but there is this undercurrent of excitement. Let's call it that.
Okay, wow. So, Ruth Anna, I'm glad that you reminded us that obviously candidates are voters too. So
Correct.
They get to cast their votes, hopefully in their own favor.
Yes, I do know that the candidate that I saw going into the Newlands polling station is a voter and candidate in Newlands.
Yeah, so I don't assume that they would be voting for their competition, but just a question for you. We did receive a comment that people were having to stand out in the hot sun because there were some changes since the last time. Now, I don't recall there being much of a wait last time, but did you find anyone complaining about having to wait there at that Newlands polling station?
No, where the table where you go to get your initial check of your ID is under a tent. The entrance into the larger tent that's been erected as a polling station, like the walkway entrance, there's a tent there as well. You go into the tent and you exit and go to your car or leave the polling station, because there are some people, because of how Newlands is configured, that have walked out here. But in terms of the polling station itself, at this time, I can't speak for what may have transpired otherwise, but at this time, I don't see any juncture where anyone would have to stand in the sun. If they're standing in the sun, because they're choosing to stand there and talk, which some people are choosing to do, of course.
Okay, good. So you don't really see that then as a pressing or major concern?
No, when I did pass by at 5:30 this morning, there were people queued at that time, but they were still setting up. there's no sun at that time. And I do know that they seem to have had them kind of gathered right at the front of, kind of like at the entrance, but not under any of the tents, because the elections office was essentially still preparing themselves. At 5:30, the RCIPS were getting in place at the 300 feet markers and things of that nature. So that may be why they had them kind of set off to the side at that time. But now that everything is opened and everything is functioning, I don't see any reason where anybody would have to stand in the sun as it relates directly to the elections process, the polling station in Newlands.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so you are one of our guests on the program today, Ruth Anna, and you're actually mobile and you will be going around and about. So tell us what your movements are. Are you an agent for any particular candidate?
I am not. I am not today. I am just, I guess, doing what needs to be done today. My next stop from here, generally we vote as a family, although we vote in various districts. So me, my sister, and we take the kids and everybody as part of it. There are 4 votes in Bordentown West out of their household. So that's the next stop. But we all go together with all the kids and all the family members. So we're headed to Bordentown West from here.
Oh, so you kind of make it like a little family caravan.
Oh yeah, my nephew asked me last night. He knows how excited I am about elections. So last night he was like, "Auntie, what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "I'm being hyped." And he was like, "Well, what does that mean? Is there a party?" And I said, "Election time, as far as I'm concerned, is a whole party until the decisions are made." And he's like, "Auntie, can I come with you?" So it's a whole family affair around elections, because for us, voting and participating in the democratic process is something that we talk with them about. You know, my niece is 12, my nephew's 9, my other niece is 4. Like, we involve everybody in this process, and I leave nothing to chance. So my sister, my brother, my nephew, my ex-brother-in-law, like, we all go. Everybody's going. X's need to be marked. I need to know that everybody went to the station.
Awesome. So we're hoping for a very, very high voter turnout today. What would you say to anyone who is looking for an excuse not to come out and vote?
There is no excuse, really. On Monday night, I did the Q&A session for Kenneth Bryan's meeting. And one of the things that I said there, and I will say again, this is not just about me. This is not just about our generation. When we show up to the polls today, we are helping set the stage for generations to come. Like, the impact of every election is decades, right? It may seem like a 4-year term. So there is literally no excuse to not show up to the polls today. If you need a ride, 324-1565, like, I will pick you up. I don't care where you're voting, short of Cayman Brac or Little Cayman. There are people who are volunteering their time, their efforts. Like, a friend of mine called me who votes in Savannah. Like, people know how passionate I am. She's like, "I have a friend that's registered in Prospect. She left her ID at her office." I'm like, "Well, pick her up and take her to her office." And so, and where does she vote? Okay, here's a list of the polling stations. There is literally no excuse, because if you think that not voting doesn't have an impact, not voting essentially is you voting for someone else. And so there is no excuse. It is our duty to show up today, short of an emergency that prevents you, God forbid, landing in the hospital and prevents you from voting. I accept no excuse as to why people don't participate today, right?
Exactly.
Literally, 324-1565. If you need a ride, a friend and I have gotten together. We literally have a van today, like, just for this purpose. There are no excuses. You call me, there are other people in your district. There is no excuse to not get out today. If you don't have your voter ID, just make sure you have another valid government-issued ID to show up at the polls. My voting ID has my whole constituency on it. It doesn't matter, as long as you are at your relevant polling station. If you're unsure of where to vote, I know you've announced it on several occasions, Sandra. It's on the elections website. Like, the information is everywhere. There is no excuse, and we have to show up. We have to show up. This is a critical, and I think a lot of people feel this is a critical election for Cayman and the Cayman Islands. So people have to show up. You must.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I'll check in later after I finish up at Bordentown West.
Awesome, appreciate it.
All right,
Um,
thank you.
so Linda says that in relation to the candidates, they get to witness all of the postal ballots being sent. So I guess the candidates can work out for themselves. According to Todd, Todd says nobody in Cayman is questioning the safety and accuracy of the vote. Stop trying to stoke a false claim. But I can tell you that is not the case, sir. I don't know who you're talking to, but I was defending the system yesterday, and I was sitting at a table of 3 other people, and all 3 other people were saying that they think that there are ways for people to figure out who has voted. So, like I said, Todd, I don't know what your sources are, but there are people who believe that the system is not 100% foolproof. I feel confident in the system. I've personally never had any concerns or issues, but that doesn't mean that other people don't. And that conversation yesterday, in fact, I'm going to screenshot your comment and send it to the 3 people that were involved in the comment. Since you don't believe me, I know that they're not going to come on here and probably comment, but I can assure you that they very much participated in that conversation yesterday. So I will send this to them because this will prove my point that, ooh, you think it's so ridiculous, so therefore it must be. They're going to be like, please. People believe a lot of things, and one of the things that came up in conversations yesterday is people in this country really feel, that their organizations such as Lodge that has a foothold here, and that all sorts of shenanigans go on as a result of that. I don't know. I'm just telling you what people say and what's been talked in the streets. Charlene says, as a former observer and agent plus a counter, I must commend their election staff on their process. Yeah, I think it is a very, very tight process. Thank you, Miss Anne, again. Natasha, thank you so much. Now, someone is asking, Richie just cast his vote in West Bay Central. Woohoo! Good job. Come on out. Someone did message, give me 1 second, on WhatsApp, and they said that the line, morning, we voted in Georgetown South this morning around 7:30 a.m., and it took an hour for the entire process because of the long lines. I think that's good because it shows a lot of people are turning out. Someone else just is asking what time the polls are closing. So remember, folks, the polls close at 6 p.m. Perhaps this is a good opportunity now to bring in the interview that we did with Mr. Wesley Howell. Cameron, thank you so much. I actually had iced tea this morning, nice and cold. Cameron is recommending some CRC, a good purge for Cayman. Buenos dias, Erica. ¿Cómo estás? Charlene is here again. Yeah, I can't be doing a cleanse in the middle of the show. Cameron says, don't be a stranger to CMR Ruthanna. Sandy soon need a vacation. One piece of panic going on this morning. I don't think there's any panic. I think we're all in good stead. The popcorn is coming later. Daisy says no sound. Daisy, refresh your phone because we're good on this end. Risa says I was there at 6:50 a.m. and they did change the location of the checkpoint, resulting in people standing in line and on the actual road. Oh, this must be Newlands now. Oh, yes. Last time the checkpoints were further behind ICCI, allowing people to line up away from the road. It wasn't the safest setup, to be honest, but Hearst Road is quite busy. Oh, so hopefully that's sorted now. Yeah, so 6 p.m. There we go, Daisy. Daisy says in and out in 5 minutes in Georgetown North. Yeah, don't give your vote away. Know what you're doing. Think carefully. Seymour advocates let's go out and vote. I say Georgetown Central. Yes, sir. The party bus is starting at 6 p.m. because that's when the results start to roll in. All right, so let's just have a look at the interview. Charlene says there's too many, Todd, that don't trust the process. I was one for sure until I was involved and witnessed it for myself. Yeah, Todd, don't dismiss listen, people are skeptical. They, believe in conspiracies. And so, like Charlene said, unless the system is put to the test and we can see how transparent it is. That's why I love about things like this format, that we can jump and go at the polling station. And to a certain extent, they're not going to allow us to take phones in the actual within 300 feet of the polling station, but we can see a lot of what's going on. And I think releasing information to the public about how it works, every single polling station at least have one police officer, if not more. There is transparency, and I think that level of transparency, as much transparency as you can give without compromising the process and the voters' identity in terms of like who they're voting for and that sort of thing, the better. Like when I went there this morning, I did see Mr. Frederick, who is one of the two candidates in my area. I ran into Mr. Kirk Tibbetts. He was going to vote as well. Him and his wife were on his way to vote. And he had a little joke with me because he said the other night that we had confused him with Mr. Roy Tatum. And he said, in that picture, we did look a lot alike in that picture, but he had just had knee surgery. So he said it definitely wasn't him. All right, so let's hear a word again from Mr. Wesley Howell. This interview was conducted on Monday, but it has a lot of useful information. Someone is asking if they can go to the beach and drink. I need to look that one up because I'm not 100% sure about that one. I know you can't buy alcohol in the stores today. So all liquor stores by law have to be closed. But I guess if you have your own booze already, there might be nothing stopping you, but it does say the beach, which is a public place. So I'm going to just double check this before I speak on this issue to see what the restrictions are. So here's an interview that we did earlier in the week, folks. Okay, good afternoon, folks. We're here at the elections headquarters in Baytown Plaza, right in West Bay Road, having a quick word with Mr. Wesley Howell, who is Supervisor of Elections. Mr. Howell, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of our busy day, out of your busy day.
Yours is
Ours is busy too. To spend just a few minutes with us. Can you just give us a quick synopsis of what we can expect to happen over the next couple of days in terms of the election? We're literally 2 days out from Wednesday, the general election.
Yeah, so we've wrapped up mobile polling yesterday afternoon. We polled persons in quarantine. We did some in the Brack on Saturday and Grand Cayman on Sunday. So now all of our attention is geared towards finalizing all of the materials and staff needed to conduct the polls on Wednesday. Everybody's in quite high gear in the back end here proceeding. We also have quite a steady flow of voters coming in to get their ID cards. So remind folks that ID cards are preferred, but if you have another form of identification like a driver's license or a passport, then you could also use that to vote as well.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason you would really need a new voter's ID card is if some information on that card has changed, such as your name or polling station.
Absolutely. So the new cards are printed with the electoral district. Some folks have the older blue card. Those existed before we had the 19 single-member electoral districts. For example, some of the older cards would refer to Bordentown as the electoral district, whereas traditional Bordentown is now 4 separate electoral districts, and the new cards would either specify Savannah, Newlands, Bordentown East, or Bordentown West.
Okay, wonderful. Now, on election day, I know you guys are going to be very, very busy, but for the benefit of voters, can you tell us what times the polls open, what time they close, and what is the protocol for them actually going to polling station in order to vote?
Yeah, so polls open sharp promptly at 7. They close at 6. Anybody within the confines of the polling station at 6 p.m. will be allowed to cast their vote if they're there before 6 p.m. Protocols are there's no advertising, no campaigning on election day, so please don't wear your candidate or party t-shirts to the polls, whether or not you're an agent candidate or a voter. And because we have such large number of persons expected to come out, we're advising folks to wear a mask, and we'll have masks available if they would like to wear one. But a mask is definitely not required to vote. So if you choose not to wear a mask, you will still be able to cast your vote. Again, bring your ID, and we can then advise you which polling station you go to vote in, and allow you to cast your vote in secret and very efficiently.
There are some concerns regarding the fact that this particular year, maybe for the first time in a while, there will not be any international observers on the island, but I know the governor's office has put together a group of local observers who will be monitoring the process.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there's any need for people to be concerned at all because that's happening in any way?
Not at all. So each candidate is allowed to appoint 2 agents per polling station. We have 64 polling stations.
Wow.
So that's a whole lot of agents. And trust me, the agents are probably going to be more interested in what goes on in the polling station than the observers will, particularly because they're everywhere. And we really, as part of our process, is very transparent. So from the time we open and show the ballot box open and empty on the morning before we seal it at 7 a.m., the candidates, if they've appointed their agents as it's allowed under the Elections Act, will have somebody with that box from the time it's sealed up through to the time it's counted. And the agent can then see every folded ballot, so they can't see what's on the ballot, but every folded ballot that's dropped in that box. So a very transparent process. Nothing is done sort of behind that ballot box. Is always in full view of the agents. So that's a very transparent process. It doesn't exist in all other countries. So from that, I think the voting public can take great comfort that between the 9 domestic observers that were appointed, as compared to the 7 international that were appointed back in 2017, and the fact that candidates can appoint numerous agents. So if you look at an electoral district like Newlands, there's 5 polling stations, so that's 10 agents per candidate. So I mean, their numbers are quite significant and provide an important check and balance in our process.
Right. So when the polls close and all the ballot boxes are ready to go, do they go to a central location for the count, or how does the actual count happen?
The count happens at the same location that the ballots are being cast. It might be in a separate room, a different room. But again, the agents can actually accompany the ballot boxes until they're secured by the returning officer, who then gets ready for the count. The only difference there is in Cayman Brac East and West, they will be transported to the Ashton Ready Center for Cayman Brac West, and the multipurpose hall at the sports complex for Cayman Brac East.
Okay, and finally,
and again, the agents can accompany those boxes with the police officers on the bus from the polling station to the counting station. Again, always in clear view of them.
Okay, wonderful. And one final question, in terms of the, oh gosh, just slipped me what I was going to ask you, but. Oh yes, the list of polling locations. Where can people find that? I understand that's easily available on your website.
Yeah, so the list of polling locations available on our website. We've added some graphics to that, and we're actively working on a media campaign now that will push those locations out. The locations are the same as 2017, with the exception of West Bay Central, which was at the Ed Bush field last time. That was not totally adequate size-wise for that location, so we've actually switched that to the church on Captain Reginald Parsons Drive. So that's the only change of location other than where we were in 2017. But for new voters, that'll be online we're publishing telephone numbers for folks to call us if they're confused, and the list is available to search by name and electoral district, so folks will know exactly where they are.
Okay, folks, thank you so much, Mr. Wesley. We really appreciate all the hard work that you and your office are undertaking going into the election. Any idea what time you think the final count, given the numbers, can you estimate of when we might have like some final decisions roughly?
We're hoping for around midnight to be complete with everything.
Awesome.
We have added almost 2,400 voters since 2017, so there are more ballots to count. But in some cases, some of the races are just head to head with just two candidates.
Right.
So those actually can be counted a bit
makes it
faster. So I'm still hoping to be home in the wee hours of the morning
Yes.
this time around. And we should be getting the small electoral districts, Cayman, East, West, East, and North side in around about the 10 o'clock period. So.
Okay, wonderful. So again, folks, this is the Superintendent of the Elections, Mr. Wesley Howell. Thanks again to you and your team. And tune in, folks, on Wednesday. We'll have tons of coverage and keep you guys abreast of what's going on in all of the different polling stations.
Thanks.
Good, good. We are back. We are back, folks. Thank you guys so much. We've got Mr. Chris Famous joining us. He's an MP there in Bermuda. And I do have some comments here that I need to refer to. So going back to what Todd said earlier, Todd said apparently nobody has any concerns. And funny enough, I just got this on WhatsApp saying, there's no rigged voting that will go on. And then I see where Miss Bonnie is likewise saying if I can address this issue of the manipulation and false statements that are made to voters by candidates. And this is what I was saying yesterday. There are some candidates famously known, and I know for sure in West Bay, but I suppose any district, for telling constituents that, oh, I'm going to know who you voted for. And this is where these rumors begin. And it's unfortunate that people think that this is possible. But I want to assure you that those candidates are not to be trusted. They're only telling you that to manipulate you and to really strong handle you into thinking that if they know who you vote for, then you better vote for them. You know what? Test them out. Don't go vote for them, because if they're going to lie to you, they shouldn't get your vote in any event. Don't go and vote for them. And then later on, when they say, oh, I know who you voted for, then you can say, sure, I voted for you. And you should know that since you know who I voted for. And that's a surefire way to tell that that's a big lie. Folks, it's one of the biggest manipulations that happens. And it's been going on for many, many years. Candidates are trying to hoodwink you, strong arm you by making you believe and not trust the system, that they will somehow know who you voted for. And they try these psychological games. Oh, I know you didn't vote for me. And oh, okay. Charlene agrees that it's been happening for far too long. I know it for a fact as well. That's where the dishonesty in the system lies. I don't think it's happening, necessarily with the system itself. It's that people are led to believe that there is a way for candidates to figure it out or to know who voted for them and who didn't vote for them. I can assure you that is pure speculation on their part, and simply put, they are not to be trusted. Mr. Famous, any comments in relation to that, my dear?
I would agree with you that that's highly speculative, because sorry for the poor lighting. I didn't have my ring light with me
That's
today.
okay.
That you there's no way to know how someone voted unless you stood next to them in the ballot box,
Yeah.
right? We used to have in our elect not so distant history. We used to have one party go to people's houses and say, well, make sure you vote the right way, and we'll take care of you. Blah blah blah. Right? It wasn't threats or whatever, but indirect threats. And people, older people, especially older people, would have that in their mind, like, oh, they know how I voted, but there's no way to know how someone voted. You could guess, like in Bermuda, we have two parties. So you have one party, the color is red, the other
Mm-hmm.
party, the color is green. Now, if someone shows up to the polling station in a red T-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
I think you pretty much know how they voted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. Or if you know somebody's a staunch so-and-so supporter, you have a fair idea how someone's going to vote. But for those that don't really declare who they support, there's no way to
Mm-hmm.
know how they vote.
Now, are you guys allowed to? Because one of the things that we cannot do when we go to the polls here is we are not permitted to show up in any sort of clothing, including color or campaign shirts or anything of the sort that indicate who we may have voted for. Do you guys have something likewise in your law, or could I show up with a T-shirt that says,
No,
I support Mr. Famous?
no, you couldn't. There are any persons who are not allowed to wear party colors
Mm-hmm.
are those persons who are working in the polling station. For example, if I was an agent for a candidate, and we usually do it in 2-hour shifts, during my 2-hour shift inside the polling station, I can't wear party colors. I can't wear a party T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Once outside the polling station, once you're outside of the precinct, I guess they call it 50 yards outside the polling station, you could wear whatever you want. Those who are coming to vote, they
Mm-hmm.
can wear their green, which is for one party, or they can
Mm-hmm.
wear their yellow, which is for another party, or they could wear red, which is for the other party. There's no restriction of that sort in Bermuda.
Interesting.
But I
Okay.
guess the thing is I don't know, but I'm taking a guess because your electoral system isn't based on a party per se.
Yeah.
That but that to me, I could be going on a limb here, but I think that's sort of infringing on people's democratic rights to some extent.
Yeah.
Because you should be free to whatever political expression. If I want to walk around for a T-shirt saying "Vote for Cayman Compass," I'm just using that example. Don't take it
Yeah.
the wrong
Sure.
way. Then I should be able to do that, right? I mean,
Right.
but then again, that's just my opinion.
Huh. That's quite interesting. Yeah, I do find that our election laws and that sort of thing tend to be very restrictive. For example, do you guys have to take down signage then when the polls open? So, like
No,
last night, all
um,
candidates.
as I
No.
said, within the polling station itself.
Uh huh.
Um, okay, I'll give you an example. No, we don't have to take down the signage. Number one, sometimes a year after the election, you still see signage up.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, within the polling station itself, you generally have two tents, the little pop-up tents, one for two different parties, right? And those tents are like they are generally sort of discreetly or indiscreetly, decorated in party colors, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so no, we don't have our law isn't that restrictive. No.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. I'm still looking for the bits about liquor on election day. I know we had received an article about it. I'm just trying to see. I know there's something about the sale of alcohol, but I don't know if you're not buying it today, there may be no restrictions. on what you can do. Let me just try to find the sale of trying to see if I can find exactly. There was a press release not too long ago about this. So no campaigning or adverts allowed on election day. So this is part of what our law says. So it's unlawful to campaign on election day. No candidate or party t-shirts are allowed at the polling stations. Candidates, agents, and canvassers are not allowed to loiter within 300 feet of any polling station. No political announcements, banners, car logos, flyers, billboards, radio, or online media adverts are allowed on election day. All political banners and signs must be removed by 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday, the 14th of April. So that's what we were saying at the beginning of the show. There's a few of the social media pages that may still be up, it appears. Only voters and election personnel are allowed within a 300 feet exclusion zone at each polling station. So they don't want anyone to encroach on you. Jonathan says he can't wait until the bars are open. I'm trying to find that article. So I think as soon as the polls close, they are permitted to open. Let me just see 1 second here if I can reach out to Renee. She may have the link. Yes, but it's definitely not allowed. I'm just going to have a quick perusal of the law because we do have a live question of someone inquiring about whether or not they can have a drink. I think you can have a drink. I think you can't just buy a drink is probably where it matters. So let me just look up what it says about liquor. Right. Okay, folks, so here we go. It's part 9 of the elections law under election offenses. So it says here that Jonathan says he needs a mojito. It says here that intoxicating liquor is not to be sold or given. Section 91(1). No intoxicating liquor shall be sold, offered for sale, or given away at any premises situate in any electoral district in which an election is being held, to which a license issued under the Liquor Licensing Act 2019 revision applies at any time between the opening of the polls and 1 hour after the closure of the polls. So you can't even open your liquor store at 6:15. You've got to wait until at least 7 o'clock, so an hour after the polls are closed. A person who contravenes this section commits an offense and is liable to summary conviction before a magistrate to fine of $5,000 or imprisonment for 6 months. So I think that's all it says about liquor. Let me just check again. Yes. So section 91 is the only section that speaks to the liquor bit. Now, I must say that it doesn't say you can't drink on election day. It just says that anyone who has a liquor license cannot sell or give you in any form liquor today until at least an hour past the closing of the polls. So I think the person who asked that question on WhatsApp, if they can go and have a drink on the beach, it seems like there's nothing prohibiting you from being able to do so. I would just say, obviously vote first. So they want you to be in your right mind. Oh yes, the liquor email I was looking for, it was actually in relation to Good Friday, because there's restrictions on the selling of liquor on Good Friday as well. So that was Easter weekend, so that wasn't it. Okay. So question for you, Mr. Famous. This person wants to know if civil servants in Bermuda can openly participate in campaigns in the whole election and campaigning process.
Okay, that is where I don't want to say it's a gray area, but number one, a civil servant can't run for parliament. They would have to resign their posts. That's number one. I think that's pretty common anywhere in the overseas territories. Civil servants are allowed to participate in political processes in the sense they are allowed to work behind the scenes for a party, for example, but actually going out and canvassing on behalf of a candidate, they aren't allowed to do that. What is the other restrictions? We call it general orders. So they can partake in the process, but it has to be quote unquote behind the scenes. They can't be visibly out there. They should not be visibly out there knocking on doors. So that's sort of a gray area, but the general answer is yes and no, if that helps.
Okay. Hopefully that answered the question. Ruth Anna is joining us again from Town West. Is that correct, Ruth Anna?
Yes, I am out at the agriculture grounds, the polling station for Town West, where the rest of my family votes. So that, again, another smooth, streamless process, 5 or 6 minutes in and out for each of them. So they're based on their reports. People are coming and going, but no like static lines at Town West either. I did see one of the Town West candidates here as well, coming to cast their vote. So we know, as you said, the candidates are voters. They are out casting their votes. There's in the time that we went in to vote and came back beyond the 300-foot marker, there is a consistent, steady stream of people coming to the polling station, a continuous stream of cars coming down to cast their votes this morning. So voter turnout looks very strong today.
Wow. Well, we are hoping it's going to be the best ever. So thank you for that check-in.
High voter turnout usually favors the opposition, as they say.
Yes, interesting. All right, folks, go out and vote, 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 vote. That's our best recommendation for you here today. Where are you going next after this one, Ruth Anna?
Now, after I leave this side, I have to head to West Bay to check on my people. I'm headed to the district of West Bay to see what's going on down there. And then on to East End.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate the check-in.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. Irvin said that she took her bar home yesterday. So she made sure that she had her liquor ready to go. And I think that's probably smart planning ahead. All right. Let me just see who else. Someone else just messaged us saying that there's a sign up in West Bay. Folks, you're supposed to have taken your signs down. And the report's coming in that signage is still up. So I've never heard of anyone being gotten in trouble for that, but just try to be as compliant as possible. Okay. Oh my gosh, sorry. All right. I think we can do a little break now. We'll come back a little bit later. Mr. Famous is on standby. Louis has some coconut rum for later, waiting patiently. We'll pop up. We'll save the alcohol for the celebration part, folks. So we will be back a bit later on this afternoon, around 12:30ish. We'll take about a 2-hour break, and we'll come back straight after lunch. And again, folks, just make sure that you are tuned in. Mr. Famous, thank you.
No, one final comment. First of all, thank you, and thank you to the people of Cayman Islands. Laws are meant to be. Some people say laws are meant to be broken, and from a legislative point of view, I would say laws are meant to be updated. And if there are persons who happen to find themselves newly elected come tonight, they may wish to look at some ways to update some electoral laws, because at the end of the day, life is about evolving. So some things that used to make sense 50 years ago may not make sense right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen the results of that, particularly in this jurisdiction, where a lot of laws even are no longer in tandem with their updated constitution. And that constitution was updated in 2009. And still, there's a lot of issues that are flowing out of that because someone has just left that job to somebody else and everybody's passing the buck and it's just not getting done. So thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate it. We'll be speaking to you a little bit later on.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, folks, make sure you keep it locked right here at CMR. We'll be back around 12:30.
And now, get ready for a full day of election coverage, including historical analysis, candidate bios, polling station coverage, and much more. 8 commentators covering over 50 years. Audience participation makes it your most interactive resource on Election Day. Don't miss it. Cayman Decides. Candidate and election information with a real-time election map, tracking the results as they become available. Thank you for tuning in to Cayman's #1 talk show. We'll be right back after these messages.